It's Cancer Awareness Month. Not a pleasant topic to discuss, but the fact is, it's a reality. Many Jamaicans have survived cancer, so there's hope. And for the rest of us, there's much that can be done to stay healthy. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for joining us on Jamaica Magazine. More on cancer awareness later in the show. But right now, financial analyst Jason Morris gives his assessment of government's money management policies. Plus,
thank you for calling Tax Administration's Customer Care Center.
The exemplary work of one outstanding civil servant. Stay right where you are. Jamaica Magazine begins right now.
It's that time again when the Prime Minister recognizes young rising stars in their various fields and professions. And the nominees for the 2013 Prime Minister Youth Awards for Excellence are, in the category of academics, journalism, arts and culture, leadership, entrepreneurship, youth in service, international achievement, sports, agriculture, youth work, who will be the recipients?
Achieving continuous economic growth does not only look good on the government's report card. Improvements in the economy benefit us, creating more investments and jobs. So far, we've seen 2 quarters of consecutive growth, and the prospects for continued growth look extremely good. On this week's Issues and Answers, we hear from another financial analyst who's given the government high marks for its handling of the economy.
Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Today we speak to Jason Morris, who is the Vice President of Scotia Investments, and he's well known as a financial analyst. And he has been making a presentation recently about the economy and about the trends in the economy, and we speak to him about his views on that matter. We thank you for your company today. Jason, good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
You have been making a presentation on the economy in which you have pointed out that a number of things are moving in the right direction. Could you expand on that? Why are you bullish about the Jamaican economy, and particularly the macroeconomic path that we are undertaking?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that I'm bullish. The objective of my presentation is essentially just to outline the opportunities for growth. So what are the things that are actually happening positively in the economy? That's the main focus.
Yes.
I think we pretty much know what the challenges are, so I'm just focusing on what are the opportunities. So it's not that we are without challenges,
Yes.
but it's just that there are some opportunities that have been overlooked, so to speak.
What are these?
So just looking at the budget and the IMF program itself to start out, obviously, it's a very challenging target from the very beginning to attain a 7.5% primary balance target. Very challenging. However, if you look at how the program has gone so far, tax revenues have actually been growing relative to last year. If you recall, back in 2012, September, tax revenues were growing at a rate of only 1.6%, which was the lowest in 20 years. Now, April to January 2014, it's growing at 9.9% over last year. So it's not that tax revenues aren't growing, but they're not growing as fast as we need them to grow to meet the target. So essentially, because tax revenues are not growing so fast, what the government has had to do is to come with a supplemental budget whereby they now estimate that tax revenues will decline by almost $16 billion relative to budget. However, what they have done is to cut expenditure by about $19 billion, $10 billion of which is through interest expense. So the result of all of that is that the primary balance target that the government had initially crafted, which is a roughly $111.5 billion, we are still on track to meet that, despite the fact that it's still very challenging.
We're on track to meet that.
Well, we are on track so far, based on the revised budget numbers. So,
so you're not pessimistic about our meeting the fourth test of the IMF?
Well, I think
not pessimistic about that.
I'm not pessimistic, but I think that it's still going to be challenging because we still have to hit the revenue target, and the revenue is actually the problem in this instance, tax revenues to be exact. So as long as the government hits the revised numbers, then obviously we'll meet the IMF targets for the end of March. Needless to say, it's still a challenging ask because April to January tax revenues were up roughly $21 billion over last year. It's speaking about an economy that didn't grow by more than 1% during the financial year. So it's a very challenging task, but I think that we have definitely given our best efforts to try and hit that target, and we're going to need to continue doing that for the next 3 years.
Okay. You were mentioning the other positives.
So that's the first thing. I think the second thing that we need to look at, if we were to look at the balance of payments, which is the reason why we have the IMF in the first place, because we simply didn't have enough reserves to back this, to support the cost of the imports that we utilize in Jamaica. So if we first look at the foreign direct investment, on average prior to the 2008 crisis, foreign direct investment in the country was about 800 million US per year on average. 2008 we had an outlier, we got roughly 1.4 billion, but that's because of a 700 million USD inflow from the Lascelles Clico deal. So if you exclude that, we average roughly 800 million. If you look at 2011, we only had roughly $218 million USD in FDI flows, coming from an average of roughly 800, which was the lowest in more than a decade. Fast forward to 2013 and 2014, FDI flows is expected to be roughly 440 million USD at the end of the 2013 calendar year. So that shows that the dip that we saw from the highs previous to the crisis, we have actually stabilized and we have started to creep up. So this is going to take time to actually rebuild that. Now fast forward to the net international reserves, the NIR is at its highest level in 14 months. So again, we had roughly $2.8 billion at its peak. We fell down to below $1 billion, and now we are just about 1.1 billion, which is the highest level in
the highest level in 14 months.
So if you were to look at it on a chart, it would show that we fell, we scraped along the bottom for a while, and then we start to slowly creep up. However, obviously, to actually get the NIR on a more stable footing, we actually need to grow and produce our way out of it. Which we haven't been able to do.
On the growth issue after, Jason Morris is telling us about some of the positive things taking place in the economy, what the indicators are, and when we come back from a short break, he will continue.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Welcome back. Vice President of Scotia Investments, Jason Morris, is here with us. He's talking about the positive indicators in the economy. Jason, you may continue.
Yes, so I want to return to the budget, right? Because there's something very significant that is happening there.
Oh.
So recall, the 7.5% primary balance target is very challenging, and we have to consistently meet that. It's a challenge to meet it, but based on the revised budget numbers, we should come very close to meeting it, if not meet it. However, what has been overlooked is actually the budget balance. Now, 4 years ago, Jamaica had, so that's the difference between the taxes that you collect and the money that the government spends. So that gives you the fiscal budget, or the fiscal balance, which is the budget, right? So 4 years ago, we were running a deficit of 11.4% of GDP, one of the highest in emerging markets. Fast forward to the end of March, and if the government hits the revised supplemental targets, then for the first time in 18 years, we would have hit a surplus in our budget. Remember, 4 years ago, 11.5%.
11.5.
And if we come anywhere close to what I suspect that we're going to come out to be, is either going to be a balanced budget or a small surplus of 0.1% of GDP. Now, if you look at Jamaica as a country that has a